Hello students, today we are going to discuss the terminal portion of the chapter and that is drug interactions part 3. Let us understand now various examples of the pharmacodynamic interaction. As in the part 1, when we were discussing about the classification of drug interaction, I have told you basically there are two main mechanisms. One, the drug interactions where there is alteration in the kinetic properties, and a second where there are alterations in the dynamic properties of the drug. We have already covered in the first two parts about the kinetic drug interaction, and today we will be discussing about pharmacodynamic drug interactions. In pharmacodynamic interaction, the effect of the one drug is changed in the presence of the second drug at its site of action. So it can involve the competition for specific sites, but can also be sometimes indirect and may involve interference with the physiological system. For example, there can be a synergistic effect or additive interactions, or there may be sometimes antagonistic interaction. There are certain peculiar interactions which occur as a side effect with antidepressant like serotonin syndrome, or there may be sometimes the interventions or perturbations in the levels of the neurotransmitter which usually takes place with the drugs which interfere or which have neurotransmitter uptake interactions. Let us understand first about synergistic interaction. These occur generally when two drugs given in combination have a similar pharmacological effects. Here I have given some examples which usually commonly lead to synergistic effect like antidepressant, anti-epileptic drug and antihistaminic. If all three categories of the drug are given in combination to the patient, they will lead to the exaggeration of drowsiness, which is a side effect of each category of this drug. Another example is when you combine the drugs which have a arrhythmogenic potential. For example, antiarrhythmic drug or neuroleptics or tricyclic antidepressants or those drugs which produce imbalance in the electrolyte level in the body, they can sometime, if given in combination, can lead to the ventricular arrhythmias, and therefore combination of such drugs which have arrhythmogenic potential should be avoided. Another type of pharmacodynamic interaction which can take place is antagonistic interaction. These occur generally when the drug with agonistic action at a particular receptor site interacts with an antagonist at that same site. Like beta-2 selective agonists like salbutamol, which are usually given for treatment of asthma. Their effect may get antagonized if patient is simultaneously also consuming beta blocker like propranolol, which is a non-specific beta blocker. Or specific antagonists may be sometimes used to reverse the effect of the another drug at a specific receptor site. Like when there is a poisoning with opioids, then naltrexone, naloxone are used. Or when there is a poisoning or exaggerated effect of the benzodiazepine and you want to reverse that effect or antagonize the effect of benzodiazepine, then flumazenil can be used. Or even there is another example where alpha adrenergic agonist, for example metrominol, it is usually used in the management of the priapism, which is the effect which is induced by alpha blockade and alpha blocking drugs like phentolamine. So not necessarily the antagonistic effect will always alter or hamper or will lead to the attenuation of the therapeutic efficacy. Sometimes you may have to use antagonistic interaction to counteract the side effects, to counteract the poisoning. So in the better way, in a therapeutic, in a beneficial way, can also be these antagonistic interactions be used. I was talking about the serotonin syndrome. It is associated with excess of serotonin that results from therapeutic use of the drug, or sometimes may be due to the overdose or inadvertent reaction between the two drugs. It can occur when two or more drugs which are having effect on the serotonergic pathway are given at the same time, or serotonergic drug is suddenly stopped and another is started. Serotonin syndrome usually includes confusion, disorientation, abnormal movements, exaggerated reflexes, fever, sweating, diarrhea, and sometimes maybe hypotension or hypertensive effect. So there are 3 or more of the above symptoms which are needed to make a diagnosis whether whatever syndrome is occurring or symptoms which are occurring together are because of the this hyper levels of the serotonin in the brain, or are they because of some other reason. Now there are many drugs which can interfere with the uptake of the neurotransmitter, or those are the drugs which are interfering with the levels of the neurotransmitter across the synapse. And a very important drug in this category is MAO inhibitors, especially non-specific MAO inhibitors, which not only interact with the other drugs but they also show interaction with food, like those food constituent which are rich in tyramine content. Food drug interaction with irreversible MAO inhibitor usually results in the inhibition of pre-systemic elimination of the tyramine which is present in the various foods. The non-selective MAO inhibitors like phenelzine or tranylcypramine, such type of the drug, they usually inhibit MAO, that is monoamino oxidase A, which is present in the intestinal wall and the liver. Now, due to the inhibition of MAO A across the intestinal wall or the liver, the oral bioavailability of the tyramine, which usually supposed to get metabolized across the intestinal wall, is not getting metabolized, and therefore its oral bioavailability increases during the absorption and the first pass metabolism. When this tyramine in a higher concentration reaches to systemic circulation, it increases release of noradrenaline from sympathetic postganglionic neuron. This hypersecretion of the noradrenaline from the postganglionic neuron or sympathetic neuron, postganglionic sympathetic neuron, may lead to a tremendous vasoconstriction peripherally, causing potential or fatal hypertensive crisis. In this sympathetic overactivity syndrome, there is hypertension associated with headache, cardiac arrhythmias, hyperpyrexia, and excitement, and sometimes fatal intracranial hemorrhage and cardiac arrest can also take place. The risk of the interaction continues for prolonged period and sometimes for the several weeks, and this arises a need for the development of more selective MAO inhibitors or a newer class of the MAO inhibitors. Coming back to the next point where pharmacodynamic interactions can take place is the interactions involving unknown or the multiple mechanisms, where many drugs are involved, and drug interaction involve more than one mechanism. There is no only one specific mechanism which can be easily diagnosed and rectified, but there may be a combination of the drugs which are given to the patient, and exactly we don't know that drug interaction is because of one specific mode or because of the multiple mechanisms. Like quinidine or digoxin interaction, when quinidine is given to the patient who are already on the treatment of the digoxin, the 2 to 3-fold increase in the steady state level of the digoxin occurs. We all are aware that digoxin has a very low therapeutic index. So various mechanisms are involved for this 3 to 4-fold increase in the levels of the digoxin, where one of the mechanism is that inhibition of the P-glycoprotein, which are the efflux transporters for the quinidine. An interaction can occur and likely to go sometimes unnoticed, like when the interacting drug diminishes the effectiveness of the index drug. When a patient takes many drugs, the clinician may have a very difficult task in establishing the continued efficacy and necessity of each agent. So one drug can readily cancel sometimes the effectiveness of the another drug. To establish ongoing effectiveness of the drug when multiple drug therapy is usually involved, in that situation we can stop one drug which is in question, and then we can reassess the patient carefully to find out that which is exactly the drug which is nullifying the effect of the other drug. In the late 1990s, the 16 deaths occurred in Japanese cancer patient being treated for herpes zoster infection with new antiviral drug, that is Soribudi. These patients were taking 5-fluorouracil or other fluoropyrimidine antineoplastic drug. And surbidine is a potent inhibitor of dihydropyrimidine dehydrogenase, the enzyme responsible for inactivation of fluoropyrimidines. For many new drugs, potential drug interactions are being predicted and tested during their development only. But this is what needs to be done before the product is launched into the market. Dysarrhythmias can also occur in the young and healthy individuals which take erythromycin or ketoconazole type of the drug with terfenadine, which is a non-sedative antihistaminic drug. And mechanism of this interaction is that inhibition of the cytochrome enzyme by erythromycin and ketoconazole, which causes steady state increase in levels of the terfenadine. And that can prolong the conduction of the impulses in the heart and can lead to the potentially lethal dysarrhythmia, tortes de pointes. So these are some of the examples of the drugs which sometimes are unrecognized drug interaction but may prove to be fatal. Now we are going to discuss about what are the factors which can predispose to the occurrence of drug interaction. The high risk clinical setting, like physicians may not know or recall all the documented or potential interaction. It's very, very difficult. Since the risk is small in most of the clinical setting, the astute clinicians can reduce the risk of the patient by being aware of the clinical settings in which the risk of the adverse reactions can increase. Or these include the index drug which has a narrow therapeutic index. That time the care has to be taken when adding or removing the drug in patients which are taking a drug with low toxic to therapeutic ratio. And a very classical example of such drug is warfarin. You have to be very careful. The other examples which have very narrow therapeutic drugs which have very narrow therapeutic index are anti-cancer drug like 5-fluorouracil, immunosuppressive, cyclosporine, the antiarrhythmic drug quinidine digitalis, glycosides like digoxin, anticonvulsant drug phenytoin, oral hypoglycemic drugs, aminoglycosides, antiretroviral drugs, zidovudine, antifungal amphotericin B, especially be very careful in patients who are suffering from renal failure, lithium carbonate and theophylline. So these are some of the drugs where the care need to be taken because we already know that they have a very low margin in between efficacy and toxicity. These are the drugs with a low therapeutic index. Then the risk is where the OTC drugs and there are some alternative therapies which are also taken along with the main therapeutic regimen. As the number of drugs taken increases, the risk of the drug interaction also increases proportionately. And this increased risk of adverse drug interaction can occur most of the time with OTC drug or topical drugs, for example, timolol, which is usually used as an eye drop, or it can even take place with certain herbal teas also. Now, let me quote you one of the example of the OTC drug that when you are going for OTC drug and if the patient is on the treatment of any CNS depressant drug, now OTC drug may contain sometime antihistaminic also. A cough syrup can contain antihistaminic and without prescription the person may purchase it, and antihistaminic are also associated with a CNS depressant effect and sedative side effects. And already the patient is on the treatment of the benzodiazepine or barbiturate like drug, the sedative effect may get exaggerated. Even the drug interaction can take place with certain Ayurvedic drugs or herbomineral preparations or even the homeopathic drugs which are taken without informing it to the physician who is giving a prescription to the patient. So such type of the drug interactions can occur, but whether the patient is purchasing his prescribed drug or along with that if he is purchasing any OTC product or alternative therapeutic regimen he is following, he is going to purchase all these medicines from a same pharmacy shop. And therefore the pharmacist is in a better position to judge, assess possibility of any drug interaction, and he can take a right decision. He can convey the message to the physicians who are giving the prescription to the patient to avoid such type of drug interactions. Drug interactions are very common in the critically ill patient because these patients have lost their physiological reserve in one or more systems, and often require multiple drug therapy. These generally include the patient who have a kidney failure, renal failure, hepatic failure, or those who are suffering from respiratory or cardiac or autonomic failure, even the patient who are suffering from certain degenerative disorder, neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer, dementia, or myasthenia gravis. In this patient, a drug which usually has a wide therapeutic index, if usually wide therapeutic index when it is given to the healthier patient or healthier individual, may have a low therapeutic index if it is given to such type of the patient. Opioids can be given very safely in the healthy patient with a toothache, but it cannot be given very safely in patients who are already having a history of the respiratory failure. The deterioration in the critically ill patient should increase. Therefore, a vigilance, one's vigilance, and most importantly vigilance of the pharmacist, and a check on the interactions. Again, the risk is very high in the patients which are having HIV. They have a high incidence of the skin reactions to sulfur drug than the general population, and also they have a risk of the organ failure from multitude of the infections. They also receive a large number of the new and drugs and the toxic combination of the drugs, and therefore they are at a higher risk of the drug interaction. Another is a passive patient. Passive patients often do not know the reason for taking many of their medication. These are the elderly or the psychiatric patient. The elderly patients are prone to the adverse drug interaction because of the deterioration of their homeostatic mechanism, which leads to a lower margin of the safety in many drugs. An active patient can sometimes demand that the benefit and the risk ratio of the given drug to be substantially in their favor. Another important is the drug abusers. People who abuse drugs are likely to consume alcohol, tobacco, illegal, or prescriptions and OTC drugs may be consumed at a very larger doses, and they are also frequently erratic in their drug taking behaviors, and therefore the chances of occurrence of the drug interactions are more likely, not only more likely, but they may result into serious adverse effects also. So by understanding all the mechanisms, factors predisposing the drug interactions, now we come to the last part of the chapter, that what can be the measures to prevent such type of the drug interaction. The principles include that document all the drugs, including herbal preparation, OTC, recreational drugs that the patient is taking or consuming. Understand in detail, in depth, the kinetic, pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamics of the drugs which are given, keeping in mind the important mechanisms which can lead to drug interactions. Minimize the number of the drugs given to any patient and try to ensure that the benefits outweigh the risk for each one. And very importantly, you have to be vigilant with the patient when patient is on the treatment of the drug having a low therapeutic index. Be cautious in high-risk clinical settings. In intensive care unit specialists, they need to remember the interactions at all times. Whenever a patient's course deteriorates, look out for a possible adverse drug interaction. If the deterioration is due to the drug therapy, find out is it probably reversible? When you stop the drug, will it reverse? Is there any antidote available? Use the textbook of drug interactions or the softwares which are available, the programs which are available to find out the possible drug-induced effects before handing over the drug to the patient. Always be vigilant for previously undescribed interaction, particularly when prescribing a new or unfamiliar drug. So now, since we know that what all precautions a pharmacist has to take to avoid the drug interaction, we can minimize the occurrence of drug interaction. But this entire discussion, it is very important that pharmacist, being a mediator between a physician and a patient, he plays a very important and a vital role. And his in-depth knowledge about the kinetics and dynamic and his ability to guess and predict the possible mechanisms which can lead to drug interaction, and documentation of the drug history of the patient can surely help to avoid the adverse drug interactions. Thank you.